Hello and what is up? It's your boy Real_Joshua, and I may have found the very best budget deck list in the game of Riftbound. First off, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. This is my first time making Riftbound content, but I am starting to get into the game and I'm really enjoying it. I want to be able to share new deck lists, what I've learned about the game, and a lot of beginner-friendly content because that's what I've specialized in when it comes to One Piece, and I want to bring that over to this game as well as some spicy deck lists. So as I do, I was browsing through deck lists on Twitter, and this one Ahri deck list came across that I was really into because it wasn't running the $100 card Time Warps. If any of you are trying to build your own decks, you will know the struggle of having like this really kind of inexpensive looking deck list, and then randomly there will be like $4 $75 cards, and it makes the deck just like really difficult to build. But I noticed that this deck list was not running Time Warps, and it had actually seen results. The player who posted it, MilkWorldGlobal, shouts out to them. They posted some great stuff over on their Twitter. Go check that out if you want some guidance on how to run this deck. I will be going over some of that here, but MilkWorld is the specialist in this deck. But then Frodan, a caster and content creator that I really enjoyed from back in the Hearthstone days, posted that he went to a Riftbound local event with this list and went 3-0 with it. So it can see results. I find that to be pretty impressive, but let's go over the list and why I think it's so great. First of all, I need to disclaim that this list has 3,000 Chailed Watchers in it, so it can be expensive, but I'm going to provide some alternatives so that we can bring the list down to around $60. And I think the 1,000-tailed Watcher is one of the most relevant cards in the entire game. So if you just build up your collection of these over time, it's going to unlock a lot of different builds for you, a lot of different decks. So you can kind of add these to the list one at a time and slowly improve it while still having what I consider to be a very good deck list even without them. First off, if you like what you see, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and I want to see you around for more Riftbound videos in the future. But let's get right into the deck list. Okay, so first off, we have Ahri, the 9-tailed fox, whose ability is when an enemy unit attacks a battlefield you control, give it -1 this turn to a minimum of 1. So basically, anything that you are holding or defending, or your opponents are going to get -1 on everything that they send there. That can be a huge boon to you in defending points, although Ahri does have some issues with capturing points. The chosen champion that we're going to be running is Ahri Inquisitive. This is just what we're running at first. We can choose to switch that out later using a different champion. Her ability is when I attack or defend, give an enemy unit here -2 this turn to a minimum of 1. So when she's defending, she gives something -2. That in conjunction with your effect is going to give something -3. So if the opponent sends a bunch of 3s at you, one of them can be reduced to a 1 and all the others will be reduced to 2. So you are reducing the amount of power being thrown at you by a lot with this combination of cards. Plus she only costs 3 with 1 recycle. So she's a great tempo play in the early game and can help you defend points really, really well. Overall, the game plan with this deck is that we are trying to hold points, and then we're going to use some of the strongest spells in the game when it comes to defending points in order to buff our characters so that they do not get killed very easily. And if we are under a lot of heat, we can always take our characters out and then wait to attack later in the game when it is more advantageous to us to conquer. So now let's go over the runes. We're running 6 Calm and 6 Mind rune. Pretty basic stuff, not too complex. And then for the battlefields, we're running Targon's Peak. When you conquer here, ready 2 runes at the end of this turn. Really, really good for conquering and then being able to defend your board. Fortified Position, when you defend here, choose a unit. It gains shield +2 this combat, which is just +2 while it's a defender, which is really, really good. So you take +2 from this. You take -2 to your opponent's stuff with this. You take -1 with your opponent's stuff with this, and you have a huge natural advantage in defending points. Dreaming Tree, the first time you choose a friendly unit with a spell here, each turn, draw 1. You can use that with a bunch of your spells so that when you are buffing your own units, you can just draw a card and maintain your hand advantage. In addition to the fact that a lot of our spells are going to be drawing 1 automatically. All right, now let's go over the deck list. First, for creatures, we are running the Stalwart Poro, 3 copies of that. Just a 2-cost 2 might that gains 1 when it's defending, so it's a 3 might while it defends, which is what we want to be doing. We're running 3 Watchful Sentries. This is going to be one of the things that you're going to sub out for your sideboard if you're not playing against red decks. This is nice versus burn decks like Kaisa, because if they kill her early, we get a removal spell out of them, and then we can actually draw one, so we're not going down a card. It's kind of similar to the Yordle, except it costs 2 instead of 3. Ravenbloom Student, one of the strongest, if not the strongest 2-drop in the game. When you play a spell, give me +1 this turn. If you drop the student on a battlefield, they can defend it extremely well. We have the Sprite Mother. This is really good for helping you get an early point without having to commit, right? So you play this, it summons a 3-might Sprite unit readied. You can send that over to a battlefield, capture it, get the ability, and then you'll get that point, and you have this 3-might body left behind that you can then use to jump in next turn to kind of retake something if you need to. Next, we have the Tasty Feyfolk, probably the most important card in this deck. This is one that you cannot really do without, okay guys? This is a 7-cost 6-might creature, and it has Accelerate. So if you pay 1 and recycle a green, you can then ready that and then send it wherever you want. This is going to be really good for trading if you're in a dangerous situation, or you can just use it to conquer something. And the nice thing is that when this dies, you channel 2 runes Exhausted and draw 1. So you're not losing any tempo or any card advantage by playing this on the field, and it's really, really good for that reason. This is one of the main things that we use in our game plan versus Kaisa, and I will talk about that in just a bit when we talk about our spells. Then we have 3 copies of the Thousand-Tailed Watcher. Like I said, this is about a $40 card right now, but you do not need to run it. It's going to make this deck obviously a lot better, but I think that this deck is still very good, and I think it's still very playable if you switch this out with something that I'm going to go over in just a bit. Going into our spells package, we have the Smokescreen. Recopied that. This is really strong because it's giving your opponent's stuff -4. If they're really overcommitting, you have their bodies that are getting -1 or -3 if you have your Ahri already on the field. And then this -4 more is going to give them -7. So they're going to have these like tiny creatures if they're sending something big at you, and it is a huge threat to any opponent that is trying to capture a battlefield that you're already holding. Defy, this helps you to kind of negate a lot of what your opponent is trying to do. They think they're being surprising. They are leaving up runes so that they can try to counter what you do by playing another spell. You just defy it, and you're in a really good position. On guard, if you have something that is defending a battlefield on its own, you give it +2. If not, it just gets +1. But the thing is that if you're using this on a Dreaming Tree, for instance, you're going to be able to draw a card from that as well. So it's really good. Stupefy, 1 cost, -1, draw 1, really, really good. With Dreaming Tree, you can draw 2 from that. You can even target your own thing if you want to just draw 2 to make the most of the battlefield. Charm is going to be really good. 1 cost, recycle 1, move an enemy unit. So if you're defending a point, you have the advantage there, right? So if you want to inflate that advantage and your opponent is, say, tapped out, you can pull something from their base to one of your battlefields where you have an inherent advantage. And if they're tapped out especially, or if you know that you can deal with their stuff with the spells that are in your hand, you can then just use Charm to kill any character that you pull over. Discipline, like Stupefy, really, really strong. But this one's +2 to your own thing and draw 1, so it's giving you a big advantage. Like if you have these comboed in hand, you can pull something over and just like get rid of almost any target that is giving you trouble. Then we have Find Your Center, 3 copies of that. Action, if an opponent scores within 3 points of the victory score, this costs 2 less. So this is a 1-cost spell if your opponent has 6 points. It gives you a draw and you channel 1 rune Exhausted, which is really, really nice. So versus Kaisa, we want to be like playing this in the early game. If on like turn 1, for instance, you can play a Watchful Sentry, get one of those removal spells out of their hand while you try to conquer something. Then second turn, you play Find Your Center, you play a Find Your Center, you play a Tasty Feyfolk, accelerate it, you can then capture something, and if it gets taken out, you're not losing any tempo, you're not losing any card advantage, and you can just keep that going. And then finally, we have 1 copy of Windwall, which is a commit because it costs 3, and it's a -2 runes. It can counter some of the big spells that your opponent's trying to cast. This is nice to have as a one of because like your opponent always has to kind of be afraid of it, right? And you're not going to want to cast this every game. It's not always going to be great, but it's there in case of emergency. This might even be worth sideboarding if it's not going to be very useful to you in a specific matchup. But yeah, this is the basic deck list. Let's go over the sideboard real quick too. 3 copies of Zonya's Hourglass. I would say this is like the first upgrade to the deck deck that you want to make. These are about $10 a piece, and these go in the sideboard, but you're usually going to want to run these cards. Just make sure that you have some Zhonya's Hourglass. It's really, really good. You play this for 2, it stays on your field, and if something of yours dies, you can, instead of having it die, you can just recall it to your battlefield instead. This gets trashed at the same time. Against the slower decks, you have this Ahri champion, Ahri elusive. When I hold, you score 1 point, so you can punish decks for being slow because you'll be holding a point, and she'll score 2 off that point. You don't have to be holding both battlefields. You can just hold 1, score 2 points, etc., etc. It's really nice. Blast Cone Phase are really, really good if you're against a deck that is heavy on combat. Say, for instance, a set, you can play these, hide it for 1, and it's like a 4 power swing because you reveal it. When you play me, give a unit -2 this turn, it's 2 might, so you are making a 4-point swing of might with just flipping 1 character. The other things, I actually brought this to a local yesterday and had a lot of trouble against decks that use gear, so I would consider putting in Adaptatrons in your sideboard if you think you're going to come against a lot of gear using decks. Someone played 2 Dazzling Auroras against me, and I was like, why am I not running gear removal, bro? So if you do not want to get the Zhonyas, you can kind of like replace those for now with these Mask of Foresights are pretty nice. It's a 2-cost gear, so it kind of fits in the same slot. When a friendly unit attacks or defends alone, give it +1 this turn. So if you like play out 2 of these, you can just like give one of your holding units +1 or +2 as they're holding alone, and it makes it even harder for your opponent to take those spots because you just have +2 on that perma +2, which is really, really nice. So you can kind of have these instead of your Zhonyas if that's too expensive for you at the moment. Then here is what I would probably replace the Thousand-Tailed Watcher with right now, which is Riptide Rex. It's a 6-cost, 2-recycle blue character or unit that says when you play me, deal 6 to an enemy unit at a battlefield. Yes, it does not have the ability to accelerate, which sucks, but if you think about like what the Thousand-Tailed Watcher is doing, it's giving everything -3. So if there are 2 units on a battlefield, you'd be giving them -6 if they had 4 or more might, right? It's kind of nice that if you play this, you're dealing 6 points of damage to something anyway, so like it's sort of similar, it's just not able to accelerate, which is a big difference. Obviously there's less options, you're affecting less of the board, it's only affecting 1 target, so this is going to be worse in almost every scenario, but there will be instances where it is better, and there will be instances where it's like almost as good, especially because you can play it for 1 less, even 2 less initial cost, because this costs like 2 more essentially if you're using it to its fullest extent. Okay, so price-wise, this list is going to run you around £200. In dollars, I would be around $266. That is if you have all the bells and whistles, including actually an extra Ahri Inquisitive on the sideboard, a Mystic Reversal on the sideboard, and the 3 Zhonya's Hourglass on the sideboard. That would cost you around $266, which is not that budget of a deck, I understand. Like I said, you kind of want to build this stuff up over time. Zhonyas are going to be good for a long time, I think. Like having those is going to be pretty good. Thousand-Tailed Watcher, just a great card to have in general. It's going to unlock the ability to build a lot more decks for you, as well as Tasty Fey Folk. So these are all just kind of good cards to have. But if you are building the budget version that I've set forward, that one's going to cost you £48.25, which is around $64. So $64 for a deck that's pretty dang good is pretty nice, and the ability to kind of just upgrade it over time is really nice too. And I think this is going to be a lot more powerful than a lot of those like other ground level decks. And this is, by the way, the full list of what I would be running for this ultra budget build. It's just like 3 Adaptatrons, 3 Blast Cone Phase, an extra Sprite Mother, and then that Ahri Alluring, so that you can switch that out in these slower matchups. And then you got your Tasty Fey Folk, your Riptide Rex, and then the rest of the list is exactly the same as the other one. So folks, this is a great deck. It's a lot of fun to pilot. I'm sorry to the people who play against this deck because it can be really annoying. I was playing against a Yasuo yesterday who I would just like deny all his stuff and he was kind of upset. So sorry about that, homie, but that's what this deck does. And I think if you're facing something that's running like Dazzling Auroras, you just slap those Adaptatrons down. It's going to be really nice. And it has a really nice game plan versus Kaisa and whatnot. So thank you so much for watching this first video of mine. I'm going to have the links links to these decks down in the description below, so check those out. To end this video, I'm going to cut to the entire deck list so you get to see the whole thing in its entirety. Like I said, the lists are in the description below, but if you want to see these again, here they are. And again, thanks for watching. Later. Again, this is the initial sideboard. This is the budget options for sideboard, and the budget option for the washer, by the way. And yeah, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for joining. Later.